Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Women Talking Money podcast. My name is Gretchen Betts from Magenta Financial Planning, and today I'm joined by Rhian Bowden. Rhian is a physiotherapist, and in 2004, she set up one-to-one therapy. She ran this business for 18 years before stepping down to focus on her passion about well-being, health and well-being. In 2023, Rhian launched a number of new ventures, which include online stress and anxiety workshops and co-hosting a podcast called The Wellness Journey. She's also part of the coaching team via the Her Spirit app, which teaches online core and functional strength classes. Rhian is married to former elite athlete Adam Bowden and is also a mum to 2 teenage boys. So welcome, Rhian, and thank you for joining me today.
Thanks so much for asking me to be here.
Do you want to fill in some gaps around that bio and tell us a little bit more about all these amazing ventures you've got going on?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm always been passionate about health and well-being, and I think that's why I went into healthcare in the first place and qualified as a physiotherapist. And I've been working as a physio now since '99. And when I set up my business, one-to-one therapy, the reason for doing that is because I was working within the NHS and was very frustrated at not being allowed to give the treatments that I wanted to give to people. I felt that I could do so much more. And you were very much pushed in a small space of time to just give advice and exercises and get the next person in, because it was all based on waiting lists. So I wanted to provide healthcare for people that I felt they deserved. So hence the name one-to-one as well, that people would come and have one-on-one sessions with me, where we would look at exercise, but we'd also look at manual therapy or electrotherapy. Or as time went on, I really started to notice the difference between, the relationship, not the difference, but the relationship between what is going on in somebody's mind, how that affects their physical body, and also from a soul or an emotional health perspective as well, what was going on, and marrying in all three. And when I looked a little bit more holistically at my clients, I realized that, I noticed the difference and the improvements they were making when we addressed, the whole person. And I think over the years then with one-to-one, I made sure that it wasn't just about physical health and it wasn't just about physiotherapy. It was a wellness centre and a place where people could come and have, whether that's psychotherapy, counselling, CBT, meditation, mindfulness, yoga, Pilates, massage and podiatry. It was trying to bring the whole health, different types of healthcare and well-being together, so that we could get the most out of a person. And if somebody came in and they had back pain, but that back pain was due to muscle tension in their back, and maybe that muscle tension could have been through financial worries or stresses or emotional worries, or so they've got a bad back, but they're complaining of pain, but it's coming from somewhere else. So let's go and address the something else, and I've certainly, as I've gone on through my career, I now, I'm more passionate about educating people. So this is why I've brought it in my stress and anxiety workshops, so that people can look at, not just how to manage symptoms, but actually to get to the root cause of the problem as well. And that's what I always try to do as a healthcare provider and as a physio, was let's get to the cause of this problem. Don't just mask symptoms. Don't just, here you are, do these exercises and off you go. No, let's get to why your back is hurting in the first place. The same with anxiety. It was, what are your triggers? Where are the triggers? Where have they come from? Let's explore that. I've noticed some really big improvements with my clients. And like you said, the podcast is all about my own wellness journey, how I've, personally managed to not only get rid of, but overcome health conditions such as anxiety, depression. I also had a condition called Graves' disease, which is an autoimmune condition. And I've managed to overcome that as well. And these are all things that I think we assume are lifelong conditions that we have to just manage. But I got to the root cause of the problem, and I dealt with it, and I'm out the other side. And I really want to teach people that we have so much more power than what we think we are, and if we are willing to explore where the root cause is coming from, then we can transform our lives, and we can be happier and healthier, and live a life where we thrive. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So I think, yeah, really, I imagine right now where how stress can impact our health and anxiety too, and we're in a much better place now than we were 10 years ago around wellness, if we can be. I imagine that there's a lot of need for that because it's something almost like people are now recognizing that, hang on, it could be this rather than something that's just triggered by a physical. So yeah, I imagine
Yeah.
that's also, you must have seen that change a lot as well in the sort of almost 20 years that you've been doing it.
Oh yeah, I've seen massive change with people, just as soon as they start to take control of their thoughts and their lifestyle, and then just slow things right down and start engaging in, meditation or mindfulness, the benefits of exercise, being out in nature, sleeping well, putting the phones away and, screens away. So you can do so much more for yourself than what we're, like I said, than what we think we can. And I think this treadmill that we're on, and certainly I was on that treadmill, when you're, I guess, a business owner and it's only you, everything was just down to me, to every decision that I had to make. It's relentless, and every business owner out there knows that it is 24/7, and you never know when that phone call is going to come in, a problem that you have to deal with. And so to be doing that with two young kids as well, and I was on my own for 6 years with two young kids, there was a lot of pressure, and I was in without realizing it, a heightened state. So I was in the stress state. The minute I woke up in the morning, I was just boom, 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 boom. What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And on this treadmill of huge to-do lists. And the only time I really, rested was when I slept. So it was on the go, and knowing to slow things down and, take pauses in your day, and self-care, looking after you and your health. And it's not about just, this rat race that we've got ourselves into, and that was the cause of all my ill health. So I had to have a massive change of lifestyle to be able to be healthy and happy now, and not have any physical limitations or mental health limitations that were, I guess, hindering me from living my life to the fullest.
So it's interesting, earlier you mentioned about financial well-being and how if we're, the reality is if we've got a lot of angst about money and we've really got not good financial well-being, be that because we don't feel organized enough, or, we're in a position where we're not financially stable, it can be really, really challenging. So, and one of the things I want to do in this podcast is just encourage us all to talk a little bit more freely about our journey with money, where we're at, where we've been, to show, and hopefully people listening will appreciate then that we're all in, we've all had different experiences, but we've all got different things that we can bring to the table, and if we just talk about it a little bit more openly, we can hopefully improve our financial well-being, because we might get some advice or learn something from someone if we're willing to be open. So that's the purpose of kind of the podcast that I'm running. So let's sort of talk a little bit about your money story, I guess. What do you remember hearing about money when you were growing up, and sort of what was your experiences as a child with money in your family?
Well, money was definitely not in abundance as I was growing up. Coming from, I guess, working class background, my grandparents were miners and things. My dad, bless him, worked like 7 days a week. Did all the overtime he could just to put food on the table. And, so you hear things like money doesn't grow on trees. And, so there was very much a lack of, or that and you have to work really hard and you have to work loads of hours to get money. So I think that definitely impacted me in terms of how I then went about my working life and my working career, that instilled in me that you have to work hard. You have to work hard and you have to work long hours, and you have to struggle.
Yeah, and it's so often that's what people say. We were of that generation where money doesn't grow on trees comes up a lot, and
Yeah.
so the long hours, hard graft to get the money that family needs, was so often a messaging I think that people had. And can you share your earliest kind of money, like memory of money? Do you remember learning about it or receiving it, or pocket money or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, the only things I remember is well, the earliest memory I have is sort of being given, 10 pence to go and buy a bag of sweets. Or, if I had like 50p from a grandparent or a pound from a grandparent, you think that was, a huge amount of money. Um, and, we were, I guess, taught to save and to not borrow any money. You only spend what you have. Um, and if you want something, you save up for it. And that's what I did. And I worked from a very young age. And I put my money aside and bought the things I wanted then out of that.
And what was your first job?
So a paper round, first of all. So I was probably about 12, 13, delivering papers on a Sunday morning. And then I actually worked in a jewellery shop, again, from a very young age, from about 13, 14, on a Saturday. And then went and used to wash hair in a hairdresser's from about age 14. So on a, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So after school, Thursday, Friday, and then a Saturday morning. But it was, for me to go and, start saving up some money so I could buy, the shoes I wanted or whatever piece of clothing.
Do you, bearing in mind the conversation or the bit that you started talking to us about at the start around your kind of like being on that treadmill and, just kind of being overworking, poor kind of well-being around stuff. Do you think that some of the way that you knew how to work and the way that you approached your business, we all, as you said, as a business owner, it's fast paced, it's constantly changing, you've got to be on top of things, you've got to be there to answer the questions. But do you think some of the kind of way when you started off initially was because, of that kind of inbuilt, like you work hard to make money, you've got to, that's the way, that the only way you can make money is by just dedicating all those hours?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. And my opinions and views and beliefs have changed massively since then. But yeah, it's instilled in you, and it's like working hard and working long hours. I perceived that to be a good thing. I thought, being a good human being, decent, you work hard. That's what you do. And actually, there was some sort of negativity in being wealthy or having money easily. Phrases like, "Well, they don't know, they're born. They're not, real people." Real people are people who are working hard and struggling. And it was very much a negative thing to have wealth or have money or you're to show off. Look at them, they're showing off because they've got a nice car or because they're going on a fancy holiday. Or so it was, struggle with money, work really hard and struggle, because then you will be accepted by your community, because this is your community, this is where you've been brought up, and everybody loves everyone who is struggling. And they don't like you then if you're doing well or having an easy life, But this is your interpretation as a child and your perception of the world. which obviously I have a different perception now.
Yeah, and also I do think there's an element of like growing, working class, also working class Wales, mining and the kind of area that we're in, that does that, very much have that mindset, and sure that we'd still go, to many of the valleys surrounding the more cosmopolitan areas of South Wales now, and still find a lot of those views, because people, we maybe don't tend to know anything different, and so you've obviously spent some time reflecting on it, or at least life has taught you that,
Yes.
and work and your health has taught you. So, how, yeah, has that impacted? Do you like now have different conversations as a family with money, about money, or is the way that you're bringing your boys up different from the way that you were brought up? I didn't say boys. You
Yes.
just got yeah,
Yeah.
your
No.
children.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, I try to educate them, I guess, on. I still want to instill that, that work ethic, and I definitely don't. They don't just have money, shall we say? It's very much a, it's good. It's good to go out and work and earn your own money and being able to buy your own things, and knowing the value of stuff as well. And oh, look, if you're working X amount, that's how much this, these new earpods that you want, this is how much they cost. And if you're going out and earning that, so they're not, I don't want them to be spoilt, as it were. So I want them to have that value of money and know how much things cost and know how much you work to get that. And so we do things like pocket money, and I've also encouraged them to, get jobs as well. So they've been doing various little things, small things. They're not 16 yet, so it's difficult before they're 16.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard. You can't work at 13 anymore.
Yeah, so they've been doing things like dropping leaflets, and they've been working at like on the grounds where they were doing their Halloween event, and they were working there. So they were able to do little bits like that, but it's encouraging them to do things, so they know that it's not a shock to them when they do go into that working environment. But I'm certainly not using language like, money doesn't grow on trees, or encouraging that lack of either. So, and we're talking about things like, investing money and, the stock market and all of the things, or, being a little bit more open about discussions around that and the possibilities of, what they could do for a career. And, so, well, we'll see, it's a generational thing, isn't it? If I'm trying to change things now, I'm hoping by the time it's past them, what they are saying to their children is going to be different, and trying to I guess break the cycle of this hardship and this badge of honor for hardship that we seem to have. Yeah, it isn't it? It's you wear that badge of, I've struggled, I'm working hard, I'm working harder than everybody else, I'm struggling more than anybody else. Look at me, that badge of honor, I'm a good person because I'm struggling. And I've had to let go of those badges.
Yeah, really interesting. Yeah. And they're deep rooted. Those things are deep rooted. So, we talked a little bit about how maybe your kind of approach to money and things have changed. So that's really interesting. What about like this thing of kind of like how do you balance the kind of desire to save, which has been inbuilt, you've had that inbuilt for many, many years, and running a business, we're always aware of what our cash flow is looking like, etc. But with the desire to enjoy. So I guess it's a little bit like removing that badge, isn't it? Sort of, no, but I have some, I can also enjoy some of this money that I'm earning. How do you balance that, saving, spending for today? How are you finding that right now?
So I've always had different saving pots. So, you've got your more sort of ISAs and things that are more longer term saving pots, and then more of an instant access savings. And again, I put money aside for, obviously being self-employed, you've got to pay your tax. So making sure that you've got that little pot of money there. So you've got that to pay when that comes up. And then more your longer term savings that could be there. Oh, well, that's for a holiday, etc. But and then I guess what is left in my account is then for today and to live for today. But I have had a bit of a change of late, and so that's how I've always done it: being safe, being careful, having little pots of money for different things, and then spending what is left in my account. And then I changed everything in after the COVID period. So not only did I obviously step down from the business, but I actually sold my house as well and moved into rental property. And that was to release all the equity from the house to give me more money for now, for living right now. During the COVID period, it was so stressful with the business. I mean, the business nearly went under on so many occasions, and financially, that really was incredibly hard because we had no money there. Like, I was paying staff and paying the bills and then not paying myself to try and keep the business going. And it was so hard that time financially that once I got through all of that, I thought, well, what is the point of me having all this money in this house when my kids now, I'm not enjoying my kids. I'm not able to, take them on holiday and do the things I want them to do because, I'm sort of struggling to pay the bills and things. So I just decided, you know what, let's just sell the house. Let's release all that equity. And so I've got that there now that we're living, we're having lovely times at the moment, and I'm having lovely times with my children because I've taken that pressure off financially. And yet people will look and go, well, but you don't own your own home. What? That's ridiculous. Like, what are you going to do? And it's like, well, I need this money now. My kids, I want to enjoy them now. And they are at the most probably expensive time. So teenagers, and then possibly going into college or university or whatever they want to do. And I want to have time with them now, and I want to do lovely things with them now. Whereas potentially I'd stay in my house, pay off my mortgage, and they'd have to wait to get to that money when I die. So I've just decided to do things completely different, which is, may not be the long-term best financial thing, but what it allows me to do is to live my life now with my children while I can.
It's definitely a very unconventional thing to do in the UK,
Yeah.
but it's interesting because it's the second time that it's come up on this podcast, the second time it's come up, where, of course, if you were anywhere else in the world, America, Europe, it would be the concept of owning your own home's not really ever really on their high priority. We really, really make that a massive thing here in the UK. And I wonder whether there's several things that you've said. I mean, COVID had a massive impact on people about our kind of like, have we been looking far too forward? Like, I need to live for today a lot more, which we hear more and more people saying. But really, I wonder if that's going to be an interesting one to see whether that also comes to the form, or where we're like, all this capital tied up in our property. How am I going to enjoy that little bit more rather than just working myself into an early grave and not experiencing any of these things? It's really powerful.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing for me, like during that COVID time, it wasn't just, how stressful it was financially, but it was because we were so scared and because we were seeing people, dying from COVID, healthy people and of all ages. I just thought, hold my boys close. Like, I'm getting choked up now, but, we don't know how long we got left. None of us know how long we've got left. And I just thought, what's the point of having money in this if anything were to happen to any of us and we haven't enjoyed our time together now, let's enjoy it now. So that was my deciding factor was, I want to have fun times with my boys while I can. So I made that, and it was a difficult decision to make, but it was definitely the best decision, or one of the best decisions I've made. And and it's been lovely. We've had some lovely times since, and some lovely holidays and beautiful memories. And it won't be long, and they'll be sort of not coming on holidays with me or not wanting to hang out with me. So I'm glad that we've had that while we can, and I'll just worry about tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean it's about finding balance, but I think it's really 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 interesting. So is there with it could be with the business or it could be like privately, but is there one sort of financial goal that you're currently working towards? Like, have you set yourself a goal with the business or anything like that you've got a predefined kind of goal you're trying to reach?
I guess no is the answer. At the moment, my goals are not necessarily financial. My goals are just to really find my purpose in life and be, changing my, I guess, career and going down a path where I feel is helping others and contributing. And that really is my goal at the moment, is just to, help others on their journey and just to try and, I guess, be a light in the world and help others to thrive. So it's financially, I'm not really thinking. I have, I've invested some money in things, and we've got, there's money coming in, and there's plenty of money that's, enabling us to live how we want to live. I probably will look at things a bit more once I've got more of a clear plan as to where I'm heading with my new ventures. I'm just doing what feels good right now and what feels like, is helping. But maybe chat to me in the ear and I'll be...
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about the podcast, didn't we? And said how, it's kind of just like an idea and like you're not sure where it's going to go. But no, really, there's no right or wrong. It's just really interesting to know, you've been from, obviously the experience of one-to-one, which has obviously ended with a very difficult period of time, and taking time out to reflect on that and seeing what's next takes time, doesn't it? And regrouping almost in a different way.
Yeah, and that's definitely, like, from a career perspective, that's what COVID taught me as well, is that I didn't enjoy being a business owner. So I love being a physio, I love helping people, I love interacting with people, but the business side of things I didn't enjoy. And that's why I had to step down from there, because doing all the accounts and doing all the marketing and dealing with staff, and like, it just wasn't enjoyable for me. And I went into the business because I wanted to help others and I wanted to give people that kind of healthcare that I felt they deserved, without really understanding, I guess, what I was taking on. Because the bigger that you go, the more services you bring in, the more you just are behind the scenes managing and running it all, rather than doing the thing that you're passionate about. And that's why I stepped down there, because I'm like, I'm in this office on a computer. I'm not helping anyone, So
yeah. And I've got three more questions. So three more questions before we round off. So can you think about a good bit of financial advice that previously you've had from someone? It doesn't need to be an advisor, could be a friend, could be a family member, but anything that's like really stuck with you and you've thought that's, something I'm going to carry forward.
Well, my parents, my dad, they always sort of said to me, only spend what you have. And I've lived my life like that. And for me, that works, because when I see myself in debt or in the red, it makes me anxious. It just, knowing that, oh, I'm in debt here, like any kind of debt makes me feel uncomfortable and brings sort of worry and anxiety. So I like to, spend what I've got. And I enjoy earning money, and I enjoy spending money that I've earned. Like, there's a sense of pride in that. I love that, and I've always loved that. I've never wanted handouts, or to be reliant on somebody else financially. I love the fact that, oh, I've earned that, and then I'm going to go and buy that fabulous pair of shoes, and there's something lovely about it. So having credit cards and loans and debt, I mean, that doesn't sit well with me. And I'm glad, really, because I think that would have been an even bigger stress in my life. So I'm glad that they sort of taught me that from early on.
And I guess we just mentioned some shoes, but I guess one of the things I like to ask people is, can you think about something that, has been facilitated by money that's a really joyful thing for you, or a joyful memory that you've had?
For me, it's always about experiences. Like, I love traveling and I love adventure. And if I had, whatever spare money I've got, it's like, let's go and do something. Let's go and do something fun, or travel somewhere fun. So, traveling around the world, having all these different fabulous holidays, or kind of crazy experiences like bungee jumping and jumping out of planes and whitewater rafting. And I would always go for an experience first over a thing. I think that fills me up more than having, it's always nice to have a new pair of shoes, and it's always nice to have, nice clothes and things. But that experience, the joy that gives me in that moment, and if I can do that as well, with my kids, with my family, my husband, or friends, that always fills me up. And it's always worthwhile. I always, putting money onto things like that gives you an experience and an adventure is, for me, worthwhile spent.
Have you got one specific you'd like to tell me about? One amazing holiday, or one amazing bungee jump? It's not really me. Bungee jumping's not me, but yeah, tell me.
I think, like, skydiving, when I jumped out of a plane over Lake Taupo in New Zealand. I mean, that was pretty epic and extraordinary. To do something like that, it was fabulous.
Wow. Yeah.
And
sorry.
No, I just think, those memories, they just stay with you forever then,
Yes. Yeah. More so definitely than the shoes.
Yeah.
But yeah, experiences, memories, and making those things that we can look back on are pretty special. Okay, so last question, Rhian, is what does financial freedom mean to you?
Yeah, it just means not being restricted. It just means being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it. And if you want to go on that holiday, you can go on that holiday. And if you want to, buy those pair of shoes, you can buy that. So it's and that's certainly how I feel at the moment with, like I was saying earlier about, releasing the equity from the house and things. It feels like I can do that. I can say yes to things, and, not having to say no. So financial freedom is a good thing.
Thank you so much for sharing with me today, Rhian. It's been really great. I hope that you've found it good and enjoyed being on the other end of the podcast microphone.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It's lovely to have these conversations, and I think it's nice when we're open and are able to be a bit vulnerable with conversations that, it just helps other people, doesn't it, when you open up, and hopefully it sparks something with a listener as they're listening to this today, and has helped others. So thank you for asking me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.